friends, and welcome to Book a Day for Little Learners. Friends, today we're going to read Horton Hears a Who as part of our Dr. Seuss collection. I read yesterday Horton Hatches the Egg, and this is the follow-up to that story. Friends, if you haven't already, I hope you become a subscriber of our channel. I read a new book every single day, and this month we're reading Dr. Seuss books. And if you've missed any, you are welcome to go to the playlist and check those out. Let's read Horton Hears a Who. On the 15th of May, in the jungle of Whoville, in the heat of the day, in the cool of the pool, he was splashing, enjoying the jungle's great joys, when Horton the elephant heard a small noise. What do you think it could be? Do you think it's a bird? A mouse? So Horton stopped splashing. He looked toward the sound. That's funny, thought Horton. There's no one around. Then he heard it again. Just a very faint yelp, as if some tiny person were calling for help. I'll help you, said Horton. But who are you? Where? He looked and he looked. He could see nothing there but a small speck of dust blowing past through the air. I say, murmured Horton, I've never heard tell of a small speck of dust that is able to yell. So you know what I think? Why, I think there must be someone on top of that small speck of dust. Some sort of creature of very small size, too small to be seen by an elephant's eye. Friends, look how small it is. Do you think there's something on that little speck of dust? Let's find out. Some poor little person who's shaking with fear that he'll blow in the pool. He has no way to steer. I'll just have to save him, because after all, a person's a person, no matter how small. So gently and using the greatest of care, the elephant stretched his great trunk through the air, and he lifted the dust speck and carried it over and placed it down safe on a very soft clover. Friends, we know from our last story that Horton was willing to sit on an egg that wasn't his. Elephants don't have eggs, obviously. For 51 weeks to take care of something, to take care of the egg a bird asked him to take care of. And in this case, he just found something and decided to treat it very, very gently. I think that we could say that Horton was a very kind and compassionate elephant. Humped a voice. 'Twas a sour kangaroo, and the young kangaroo in her pouch said, too. Why, that speck is as small as the head of a pin. A person on that? Well, there never has been. They're being kind of a naysayer, kind of negative, aren't they, the kangaroos? Believe me, said Horton, I tell you sincerely, my ears are quite keen, and I heard him quite clearly. So his ears being quite keen means that he hears really well. I know there's a person down there, and what's more, quite likely there's 2, even 3, even 4. Quite likely. A family, for all that we know. A family with children just starting to grow. So please, Horton said, as a favor to me, try not to disturb them. Just please let them be. Friends, they're not hurting anybody, right? Horton putting this speck of dust on the clover isn't hurting anybody, so let them be. I think you're a fool, laughed the sour kangaroo. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, me too. You're the biggest blame fool in the jungle of Whoville. And the kangaroos plunged in the cool of the pool. What terrible splashing, the elephant frowned. I can't let my very small persons get drowned. I've got to protect them. I'm bigger than they. So he plucked up the clover and hustled away. Hustled means he moved quickly away. Through the high jungle treetops, the news quickly spread. He talks to a dust speck. He's out of his head. Just look at him walk with that speck on that flower. And Horton walked, worrying almost an hour. Should I put this speck down? Horton thought with alarm. If I do, these small persons may come to great harm. I can't put it down, and I won't. After all, a person's a person, no matter how small. Do you think he's going to engage with these other animals? Will he talk to them? There's a monkey-looking animal. Then Horton stopped walking. The speck was talking. The voice was so faint he could barely hear it. "Speak up, please," said Horton. He put his ear near it. "My friend," came the voice, "you're a very fine friend. You've helped all of us folks on this dust speck no end. You've saved all our houses, our ceilings and floors. You've saved all our churches and grocery stores." Well, that should make Horton feel good, shouldn't it? "You mean," Horton gasped, "you have buildings there too?" "Oh, yes," piped the voice. "We most certainly do." "I know," called the voice. "I'm too small to be seen, but I'm mayor of a town that is friendly and clean. Our buildings to you would seem terribly small, but to us who aren't big, they are wonderfully tall. My town is called Whoville, for I am a Who, and we Whos are all thankful and grateful to you." And Horton called back to the mayor of the town, "You're safe now. Don't worry. I won't let you down." Friends, have you heard of Whoville before? I think there might be another Dr. Seuss story that you've heard of about Whoville. But just as he spoke to the mayor of the speck, 3 big jungle monkeys climbed up Horton's neck. The Wickersham brothers came shouting, "What rot? This elephant's talking to Whos who are not. There aren't any Whos, and they don't have a mayor, and we're going to stop all this nonsense. So there." They snatched Horton's clover. They carried it off to a black-bottomed eagle named Vladikoff, a mighty strong eagle of very swift wing, and they said, "Will you kindly get rid of this thing?" And before the poor elephant could even speak, that eagle flew off with the feather in his beak. Friends, I think Horton is going to be horrified. Friends, it was just mean. Why did they have to take it? This bird looks more like a vulture than an eagle. All that late afternoon and far into the night, that black-bottomed bird flapped his wings in fast flight, while Horton chased after with groans over stones that tattered his toenails and battered his bones, and begged, "Please don't harm all my little folks who have as much right to live as us bigger folks do." But far, far beyond him, that eagle kept flapping, and over his shoulder called back, "Quit your yapping. I'll fly the night through. I'm a bird. I don't mind it. And I'll hide this tomorrow where you'll never find it." Just mean. That's so mean. And at 6:56 the next morning, he did it. It sure was a terrible place that he hid it. He left that small clover drop somewhere inside of a great patch of cloves 100 miles wide. "Find that," sneered the bird, "but I think you will fail." And he left with a flip of his black-bottomed tail. Friends, that bird was just mean to be mean. Look at poor Horton. He's so worried. He's so upset. Maybe here the residents of Whoville would be okay because they're in with other clovers. Maybe they would be okay. "I'll find it," cried Horton. "I'll find it or bust. I shall find my friends on my small speck of dust." And clover by clover with care, He picked up and searched them and called, "Are you there?" But clover by clover by clover, he found that the one he sought for was just not around. And by noon, poor old Horton, more dead than alive, had picked, searched, and piled up 9,005. Friends, he has a lot more to go than 9,005. Then on through the afternoon, hour after hour, till he found them at last on the 3 millionth flower. Oh my goodness. "My friends," cried the elephant, "tell me, do tell. Are you safe? Are you sound? Are you whole? Are you well?" Friends, Horton was really committed to finding them. Would you look through 3 million flowers? From down on the speck came the voice of the mayor. "We've really had trouble, much more than our share. When that black-bottomed birdie let go and we dropped, we landed so hard that our clocks have all stopped. Our teapots are broken, our rocking chairs smashed, and our bicycle tires all blew up when we crashed. So Horton, please," pleaded that voice of the mayor's, "will you stick by us who's while we are making repairs?" "Of course," Horton answered. "Of course I will stick. I'll stick by you small folks through thin and through thick." Friends, we can say that Horton is a true friend. He's so good to them. Humped a voice. "For almost 2 days you've run wild and insisted on chatting with persons who have never existed. Such carrying-ons in our peaceable jungle. We've had quite enough of your bellowing bungle. And I'm here to state," snapped the big kangaroo, "that your silly, nonsensical game is all through." And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me too." Again, why are all of these different creatures so unkind to Horton and the people of Whoville? With the help of the Wickersham brothers and dozens of Wickersham uncles and Wickersham cousins and Wickersham in-laws, whose help I've engaged, you're going to be roped, and you're going to be caged. And as for your dust speck, that we shall boil in a hot steaming kettle of bezel nut oil. "Boil it," gasped Horton. "Oh, that you can't do. It's all full of persons. They'll prove it to you." So unkind. Horton's just trying to help them. Mr. Mayor, Horton called. "Mr. Mayor, you've got to prove now that you really are there. So call a big meeting, get everyone out, make every who holler. Make every who shout. Make every who scream. If you don't, every who is going to end up in a bezel nut stew." Horton's trying to get them to be really loud, right, friends? And down on the dust speck, the scared little mayor quick called a big meeting in Whoville town square. And as people cried loudly, they cried out in fear, "We're here, we're here, we're here, we're here." Friends, do you think that will be loud enough? Do you think the kangaroos and the monkeys will even care? The elephant smiled. That was clear as a bell. "You kangaroos surely heard that very well." "All I heard," snapped the big kangaroo, "was the breeze and the faint sound of wind through the far distant trees. I heard no small voices, and you didn't either." And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me neither." This isn't going well for Horton and the people of the Whoville. "Grab him," they shouted, "and cage the big dope. Lasso his stomach with 10 miles of rope. Tie the knots tight so he'll never shake loose. Then dunk that dumb speck in the bezel nut juice." Horton fought back with great vigor and vim, but the Wickersham gang was too many for him. So vigor and vim means he really tried hard to get out of the ropes. They beat him, they mauled him, they started to haul him into his cage, but he managed to call to the mayor, "Don't give up, I believe in you all. A person's a person no matter how small. And you very small persons will not have to die if you make yourselves heard. So come on now and try." They had to be louder, didn't they? The mayor grabbed a tom-tom. He started to smack it. That's the tom-tom, like a big drum. And all over Whoville, they hooped up a racket. They rattled tin kettles, they beat on brass pans, on garbage pail tops and old cranberry cans. They blew on bazookas and blasted great toots, on clarinets, oompas and boompas, and flutes. They're making as much noise as they can, aren't they? Great gusts of loud racket rang high through the air. They rattled and shook the whole sky, and the mayor called up through the howling mad hullabaloo, "Hey, Horton, how's this? Is our sound coming through?" And Horton called back, "I can hear you just fine, but the kangaroo's ears aren't as strong, quite, as mine. They don't hear a thing. Are you sure all your boys are doing their best? Are they all making noise? Are you sure every who down in Whoville is working? Quick, look through your town. Is there anyone shirking?" That means there's somebody who's maybe not doing 100%. Through the town rushed the mayor from the east to the west, but everyone seemed to be doing his best. Everyone seemed to be yapping or yipping. Everyone seemed to be beeping or bipping, but it wasn't enough. All this ruckus and roar. He had to find someone help him make more. He raced through each building. He searched floor to floor. There he is racing. Do you see him? He's going to find more people. He's going to find somebody who can make more noise. And just as he felt he was getting nowhere and almost about to give up in despair means he felt hopeless, like he didn't think things were going to change, he suddenly burst through a door, and that mayor discovered one shirker, one Whovillian not doing their part. Quite hidden away in the Fairfax Apartments, apartment 12J, a very small shirker named Jojo was just standing and bouncing a yo-yo. Not making a sound, not a yip, not a chirp. And the mayor rushed inside and he grabbed the young twerp. That's not a nice word, friends. And he climbed with the lad up the Eiffelberg Tower. "This," cried the mayor, "is your town's darkest hour. The time for all who's who have blood that is red to come to the aid of their country," he said. "We've got to make noises in greater amounts, so open your mouth, lad, for every voice counts." Thus he spoke as he climbed. When they got to the top, the lad cleared his throat and he shouted out, "Yop." And that yop, that one small extra yop, put it over. Finally, at last, from that speck on that clover, their voices were heard. They rang out clear and clean, and the elephant smiled. Do you see what I mean? They've proved they are persons, no matter how small, and their whole world was saved by the smallest of all. "How true, yes, how true," said the big kangaroo. "And from now on, you know what I'm planning to do? From now on, I'm going to protect them with you." And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, what did the younger kangaroo say? What did the joey say? A baby kangaroo is called a joey. I think the joey kangaroo says, "Me too." Okay, you ready to see? "Me too. From sun in the summer, from rain when it's fallish, I'm going to protect them, no matter how smallish." Friends, I hope that you enjoyed our story, Horton Hears a Who, and now we know the who is the person that lives in Whoville, a tiny little speck on this tiny little clover. Friends, this story was called Horton Hears a Who. Are you ready for tomorrow's story? Now you'll be excited to see our next book in our Dr. Seuss series. Please join me tomorrow for If I Ran the Circus. Okay, friends, until then.